we're going to go over our place value and powers of 10 practice test. This is going to be the best gauge of how you're going to do on your actual test. These problems are extremely similar to your actual test. So if you don't understand something while I'm going over this, you need to email me or bring it to your math meeting and ask me questions. So the first one wants you to fill in the blanks about the number 2/10 and 2/100. So first it says in 2/10, the digit 2 is in the tenths column. Remember, this is the whole place ones. To the right of the decimal place is the tenths. In 2/100, the 2 is in the hundredths place. That's ones, tenths, hundredths. Then it asks you to compare those two digits. The 2 has a greater value in 2/10. It's 10 times the value of 2/100. If you look, 2/10 is to the left of 2/100, so that's why it's greater. Every time we move left, it's greater. How many times did we move left? We moved one place value to the left, so it's 10 times greater. Number 2, we have a model of 3/10 and 3/100. You didn't have to shade your model, but it would have helped. And it wanted the division equation that represents the relationship between the numbers 3/10 and 3/100. So here, they did divide 3/10 to get to 3/100, but you're not going to divide by 100. If you divided by 100, that digit 3 would move 2 place values over, and it would actually be 3/1000, not 3/100. Here, they went from 3/100 to 3/10. Well, they got bigger. 3/10 is bigger than 3/100, so they should have multiplied, not divided. And it would have been multiplying by just 10, not by 100. C was the correct answer because 3/10 divided by 10 is 3/100. The 3 moved one place value over to the right, so that's dividing by 10. And finally, 3/100 divided by 10 would not give you 3/10. 3/100 times 10 would give you 3/10 because multiplication gets bigger. But if you want to get smaller, 3/100 divided by 10 would give you 3/1000. So C was the correct answer there. The next two were patterns. The first pattern, it told you it wanted you to multiply by 10, which means you had to move the digits one place value to the left. So this was 6/10,000ths, 6,000ths, 6/100ths, 6/10ths, 6, 60, 600. Each time that digit 6 moved one place value to the left. Here we're dividing by 10, so we want to get smaller each time or move our digits one place value to the right. So we started with 9,000, 900, 90, 9, 9/10ths, 9/100ths, 9,000ths. Every time our digit 9 moved one place value to the right to get smaller and smaller and smaller. The next one, you had a chart to fill in with the mass of the quarter, the tennis ball, and the basketball. The quarter was 1,000th, the tennis ball was 100th, and the basketball was 1/10th. Then you had to compare some of those masses. So first, they wanted you to compare the mass of the tennis ball and the mass of the quarter. Since the mass of the tennis ball is what comes first, we don't have to write these again because they're already lined up in this place value chart for us. The mass of the tennis ball, well, that's right here. Is my pen to the left or the right of the one for the quarter that represents the 1,000th of the quarter? Well, it's to the left. When I move left, that's multiplication. How many times did I move left? I moved one place value left, and we know each time we move one place value left, it's 10 times as much. The next one said the mass of the basketball. We're comparing the basketball to the tennis ball. Since basketball came first, I'm going to go to basketball, and I'm comparing that to the tennis ball. So the the basketball is to the left of the tennis ball. My pin is to the left of this one that's in the hundredths place. So since I moved one place value left, it's 10 times greater. The last one says this means the mass of the basketball is blank the mass of the quarter. So we're comparing the basketball to the quarter. Basketball is here in the tens place. Quarter is here in the thousands place. So my pen is to the left of that 1 in the thousands place. But how many times did it move left? 1, 2. It moved 2 place values to the left. So that means the basketball is 100 times the quarter, not just 10 times, because we move 2 place values over, and every time we move a place value, it's 10 times as much. So 10 times 10 is 100. The next question, which number has a 3 that is 1/10 the value of the 3 in 344 and 12 hundredths? So the 3 right now is in the hundreds place, but I want 1/10 of that value. 1/10 means I want to divide. 1/10 means I want to move to the right. I want to move to the right 1 time. So if I was in the hundreds place and I moved to the right 1 time, that 3 should be in the tens place. If I look at all of my answer choices, in the tens place, C was the only one that had a digit 3 in the tens place. So the value of this 3 in the tens place is 1/10 the value of this 3 in the hundreds place. In the number 554 and 67 hundredths, the 5 in the tens place is blank the value of the 5 in the hundreds place. So I'm comparing the 5 in the tens place to the 5 in the hundreds place. You need to underline, highlight, circle, do something to whatever comes first. Since 5 in the tens place came first in the problem, I highlighted and underlined my 5 in the tens place. My highlight is to the right of my not highlighted 5. Since I moved right, that's division, and since I moved right just 1 time, it's dividing by 10. And remember, this fraction bar means divide by 10. 1/10 is the same thing as dividing by 10. In the number 6,759 and 891 thousandths, the 9 in the ones place is blank the value of the 9 in the hundreds place. So the 9 in the ones place is what came first. I'm going to highlight that 9 in the ones place. My highlighted 9 is to the left of my not highlighted 9. So I moved left, but this time I moved 2 place values left. So when I'm moving left, that's multiplication, and every time I move left and multiply, it's 10 times. So 10 times 10, that's 100 times the value. 100 million written as a power of 10 in exponent form. Well, I wrote 100 million out in standard form first. That's 100 million. Here's my hundreds period, my thousands period, my millions period. That's 100 million. Then I counted my zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 10 to the 8th power would be 100 million in exponential form. Number 9, which equations are true? Choose all the correct answers. You should have worked every single one of these out. So I had 400 divided by 10 to the 3rd. I want to get smaller. I took my decimal place this time. I didn't take my digits. I took my decimal this time and I moved it, even though I didn't see it. I knew it was there at the end. And I moved it 3 place values to the left because my exponent tells me to move it 3 times. My division sign tells me to get smaller. And I got 4/10. So I knew that was correct. 2 times 10 to the second is the same thing as 2 times 100. I know 2 times 100 would be 200, not 20. So that was not a correct answer. 60 times 10 to the 3rd, I know 10 to the 3rd is 1,000. So 60 times 1,000 would be 60,000, not 6,000. It would only be 6,000 if it was 6 times 10 to the 3rd. But 60 times 10 to the 3rd is 60,000. 5 hundredths times 10 to the 2nd. I'm going to take that decimal point and I'm going to move it 2 times because my exponent tells me to move it twice. I'm going to multiply, so I have to get bigger, so my decimal has to move to the right 2 times. I get 5, not 500. It would only be 500 if I started with 5. 5 times 100 is 500, but 5 hundredths times 100 is only 5. Finally, we have 8/10, and we're dividing by 10 to the 2nd, which is 100. My exponent of 2 tells me I'm going to move my decimal place 2 times. Division tells me I'm going to move my decimal point to the left because I want to get smaller. So I moved it 1 2 times. I have to put a 0 for my placeholder. So I got 8 thousandths. And I didn't get 800ths. So the only one that was correct was letter A. It did say choose all that apply. Normally when it says choose all that apply, you have more than one correct answer. And on your test, I'm fairly certain it says choose 2 correct answers. There will actually be 2 correct answers on your test. There was a typo on our practice test, but there will not be a typo on your actual test. Number 10. Guy wants to use powers of 10 to write numbers in different forms. He wrote these statements. Decide whether each of his statements is true or false, and choose true or false for each statement. 1,000 equals 10 to the third power. There's 3 zeros here, so yes, it would be 10 to the third power, true. 10 times 10 is 10,000. No, it's not. It's 100. That's false. 2 tens, 10 times 10 is 100. 10 to the second power is 10 times 10. Second power, 2 tens, yes, that's true. 6 times 10 is the same thing as 6 times 10 to the first. 10 to the first is the same thing as 10. Those are both the same exact thing, so that was true. Number 11, Charlotte makes a table to show the different ways to write the powers of 10. Help Charlotte and Guy fill in the missing information in Charlotte's table. The chart must be complete. So the standard form, 1,000, that's 10 times 10 times 10, which is 10 to the third power. That was already filled in for you. 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 tens, so that's 10 to the fourth power, and we should have 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros, so that's 10,000. 10 times 10 is 100, times 10 is 1,000, times 10 is 10,000. 10 to the fifth power would be 5 tens multiplied by itself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tens. Would also be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros, or 100,000. So part B to that is Guy is using shorthand to multiply decimals by powers of 10, and they ask you to find the product or the answer. So 5 tenths times 10 to the third, that's 1,000. So it's 5 tenths times 1,000. I want to move my decimal 3 times. I want to move it right because I'm getting bigger with multiplication. So it would be 500. 5 hundredths times 10 to the fourth. I want to move my decimal point 4 times since my exponent is 4. I want to move it right since I'm multiplying and I want to get bigger. And when I move it right 4 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 500. Yes, we happen to get 500 for both answers. This one started with 5 tenths and only multiplied it by 10 to the third, or 1,000. This one started one place value over. It started with a smaller number, 5 hundredths, but it multiplied it by a greater power of 10. That's how we still got 500. If you have questions, you missed something, you don't understand why, please email me, because you will take a test very similar to this when you come in on your test day.